Business ownership has never been hotter, but how do you do it? That's where I come in. Allow me to guide you on your journey. Welcome to Ion Franchise. This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. Coming up on this episode.
Did
you say lawn school or law school?
I'm sorry, law school.
Oh, not lawn school. Okay,
that's right. That's a good. I like that transition. Though we're delivering happiness on every single lawn. We're instilling pride in their largest single investment. Different people in the cannabis industry wanting to buy our.
Hey, you got some weed?
That's right.
No, we get rid of it. We don't sell it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. And I'm your host, Lance Graulich. We're going to get in the weeds today. Well, not really. We're going to talk about lawn care. So Rob Palmer is the brand president for Lawn Squad, owned by Authority Brands. And Rob, welcome to the show.
I appreciate being on. It's an honor.
Well, I am so happy you're here, and I can't wait to hear this story. So, yeah, you got some big numbers from your lawn care business that you launched, 30 years ago you got into lawn care? Talk about How did Rob get into lawn care? Is that what you always wanted to do when you grew up? And how are you in the world of franchising today?
Yeah, I would say it probably wasn't the plan at first. I was going to college, was finishing up my junior year, decided I was going to move forward into law school. Probably about halfway through.
Did you say lawn school or law school?
I'm sorry, law school.
Oh, not lawn school. Okay,
that's right. That's a good. I like that transition now. I was home for the summer after my senior year, and I realized I got a job with a local company called Lesco. Just a job I wanted to pick up. It was summertime. Lesco was the largest manufacturer of fertilizer, seeds, control products used in the lawn and landscape industry, and it just really what tweaked my curiosity was they were a company right here in Northeast Ohio, right near where I currently sit, and they were the national headquarters. They were a company doing maybe $300-400 million a year, but really growing in it with a huge trajectory. In fact, today they're an $8 billion company. But at the time, I literally was at a sub shop in town, and a gentleman tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, what are you doing here during lunchtime? You should be working." Well, it turns out it was the founder of Lesco, who lives in town. He would go there for lunch all the time, and he said, "If you want a job, I can get you a job." So I thought, let's go for it. At this point, I love being outside. I had a chance to work as a salesman, selling seed, fertilizer, control products. But the best thing about it was I was located at even though they had locations throughout the country, I was actually located in Rocky River, Ohio at their headquarters. And what I soon realized was, while I had no background really in lawn care, I was working with all their product managers, their PhDs, understanding more than I ever thought I would understand about polycoated ureas and fertilizers, slow release, control products, insects, diseases. And in a matter of a few short years, I literally got a master's degree, probably a PhD degree, just because of the association at the national headquarters, and just fell in love with it. So, no, I didn't think I was going to land in lawn care, but once you get in, it's really hard to get out. And it's a great industry to work with people, to work outside, to control your own destiny. And it's one of the best things about it is you get to see the fruit of your work, right? You perform a good application. You get to come back weeks later and see, the lawn is green, it's thriving, they're having to mow it, there's no weeds. So you get that instant gratification. And so I think that's what just kept bringing me back. And then it became a game where I was like, okay, we can do this. I went off on my own in 2001, left Lesco on great terms, gave them a 3-month notice. Actually was starting then the company's name was WeedPro, while I was still working at Lesco. And to this day, I still have so many friends in my network that came from my Lesco days. But no, I didn't expect to be in it, but I feel like it was a huge blessing to catch up with some guy at lunch back in 1998 to change my life today.
So did you ever get your law degree?
No, I never did.
Yeah.
I took all those Latin classes for no reason. I can speak some great Latin, and I'll use it on my kids. I've used it to raise my kids by speaking Latin to them, and they're like, "What are you saying, Dad?" And I'm like, "Exactly."
So you got your lawn degree,
Yes.
and you parlayed that knowledge and that experience into, you got a green thumb, I presume.
Yep.
30 years or so in lawn care. Authority Brands buys out your two amazing corporate locations. So you had a location, I know these numbers are in the item 19, the earnings claim within the FDD, but like 2.6 million out of your Columbus location, 5.8 million in revenue out of just 3 territories, and you didn't even touch the 3 territories. You used really only 2 in the Cleveland area. These are huge numbers. And now people get to hear your knowledge and your team's knowledge and get to hopefully do the exact same thing as you.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, we parlayed all that information that I learned working at Lesco, right? All the agronomic concepts, all the information about nutrition, about weed control, about how to control insects and diseases. And really the goal for me was how does that translate to the consumer? Now, I knew there were brands out there that worked in, specifically in the turf health care field. But I knew that what we were bringing together from the early days of starting, because I worked for this large national company, is that I wanted to, even before I had one customer, I wanted to put ourselves out there as looking like a large national brand. I felt like we needed to instill confidence in our future, in our customers that we were going to acquire today, and the ones we were going to acquire over the coming months and years. And so from day one, we invested a lot of time and effort into our brand. In fact, when we chose the name WeedPro back in 2001, it was because there was a national survey that came out through one of the national publications in the lawn care industry that said that 58% when people were hiring lawn care companies, 58% of the time was because they wanted better weed control. So,
Wow.
we didn't have to be rocket scientists to name the company WeedPro at the time, which, over the years, by the time we got to 2023, the name WeedPro maybe had some different connotations, and we were getting calls from different people even in the cannabis industry wanting to buy our
Hey, you
URLs.
got some weed?
That's
Like,
right.
no, we get rid of it. We don't
That's right.
sell it.
That's right. But, honestly, it was just an absolute blessing. We kind of came into this with a marketing approach from day one. I literally went and got a loan based off of my mortgage for $50,000. It was a line of credit from a local business, local bank. And we used all $50,000 in year one on marketing. We bought used pickup trucks with used savings. We got spreaders. We picked up all the tools that we needed, but we spent the entire line of credit on marketing. And in year one, we grossed up to $250,000 and added 500 plus customers. And it really just kind of set the tone that we were going to be a marketing driven organization, that we were going to be looking at cost per lead and cost per acquisition and figure out how we could scale the business, because it really just mattered how much could we throw into marketing, and that's how we could scale this organization, because the applications were going to be done by me or my team. I mean, we knew that the quality of the applications were going to be good. It was a matter of how do we acquire customers at a speed to keep up with our national competition.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you, and I ask a lot of founders and CEOs and presidents, is, why didn't you consider franchising in the early days? And I think I already know the answer. You had all this knowledge. You wanted to give it a shot at doing it yourself. Yeah,
it's funny because fast forward to 2023 when I made that decision, deep down in my gut and in my brain, I had to consider this. Authority Brands was an amazing company, and it was an amazing opportunity they put before us to be the first brand that they were going to acquire that was not a franchise and turn it into a franchise system. And I sat in a meeting across from the CEO of the company, Craig Donaldson, who's an amazing man, and he said, we looked and we considered options of buying other lawn care franchises, but when it all came right down to it, franchising is cloning, and we figured we would just buy the best in class that was out there, and then we would clone that so that we could produce results for our franchise owners throughout the system. But to your question, what really held me up in making that final decision was I wasn't sure about franchising. Right, I really wasn't sure about. Candidly, there's a royalty involved, and you're giving away, in our case, 7%. Well, my wife, who is the least business acumen person I know on this earth, she is a first grade school teacher. She is Mrs. Crabtree all the way. She is a lover, not a fighter. She's a hugger. we were out to dinner that night, and she knew I was really struggling with the decision. And she did something that evening that I will never forget the rest of my life. She said to me, she goes, "So if you do this franchising thing, are you still going to use Frank Ross, the financial consultant you've been using for all those years?" And I thought to myself, well, no, but that is interesting. I have been using a financial consultant now for 20 years. And, and she said, "Are you going to use Bob Coulter, your HR, your leadership development coach that you've been using for all these years?" And I said, "Well, I guess not." And by the end of that conversation, between the 4 or 5 consultants that I typically used annually over the previous 20 years, I put the pen and paper together and I realized, well, I'm actually paying royalties right now. I'm just paying it differently. I'm an independent business, but I'm paying consultants. And when you add it up over the course of all the consultants that we were paying, I really am paying a royalty. And so I realized that my new job may not be the actual, owner. I'm always going to be the president and I'm always going to be the founder, but I am now the chief consultant. I am what those consultants were doing for me to each one of the new franchise owners that I have. And that's when it really clicked in my head.
Because you have a brilliant wife.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And I told her to this day she doesn't remember giving me that such great advice. But I remember because we were drinking a glass of red wine, and it really made me think.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So describe for the audience the services. This isn't just a classic, blow and mow and go, whatever you want to call it type company. There's a lot of independents out there that never do any significant revenue, and they're in and off your grass in 5 minutes these days, it seems.
So it's interesting. With my time at Lesco, one of the things I realized, we would sell to folks that were doing landscaping, folks that were doing the mowing, and people that were just doing the fertilization and weed control. And that research and all that experience taught me was where the money really was on the plant healthcare side. And so we actually never did get into mowing and blowing or string trimming, any of that. We focused strictly on turf health, doing the annual maintenance programs with respect to fertilization, weed control, insect control. And the reason being is because I would see these landscapers pulling this, with this $70,000 dump truck pulling this $10,000 trailer with 2 mowers on it and 2 guys in a truck. And I look at the lawn care guys, and there's a van with 1 man in the truck riding his little machine around. And the revenue per hours were just absolutely incredible. And the amount of work that one guy in a truck doing the fertilization can get done, one guy can do the work of almost 2 different mowing crews. So I really, from day one, focused strictly on turf health and helping people really make, provide themselves with the greenest lawn on the street with no weeds on it, an ego, a pride factor. And I think that's gone a long way into really helping grow our brand, because we're delivering happiness on every single lawn. We're instilling pride in their largest single investment. So it's been rewarding.
And you did it in freezing cold Ohio, which, there's a lot of people that would ask me, well, Lance, I'm in a cold climate. What kind of business can I do in a cold climate in lawn care? Well, I guess a pretty good one based on Rob's history.
Yeah, one of the things I've really done throughout my career is I've done a lot of outreach. I've done a lot of networking. I've done over 190 site visits to different lawn care companies in the last 24 years now. But the number one question I always get, being in Cleveland, Ohio, what do you do in the winter? And I finally figured out the best retort to all those Floridians or Texans or people that I talk to throughout the country is like, listen, we're just smarter. We get 12 months worth of work done in 9.5 months up here. We just do it the smart way. And so, there is a bit of time in the winter. And it's actually one of the things that I really love about Lawn Squad in this whole franchising is now I've got franchises in the northern climate and I've got franchises in the southern climate. So I am now a 12-month, we've got franchises working 12 months. It's one of the reasons why I initially went to Columbus, because coming from Cleveland, Ohio, where we started it, down to Columbus, really bought us about an extra 7 days worth of work. And then we actually eventually started going down into Cincinnati at one point, which brought us another week of work. But now with franchises in Georgia and Texas, we're able to work pretty much 12 months a year. So,
who are you looking for ideally? Obviously, you and the team have all this knowledge of lawn care. So
Yeah.
who are you looking for? You looking for a full-time owner, part-time owner? I mean, talk about that a little bit.
My eyes have been open to this as I've learned the franchise world. When I first started this, I thought, we have to go after conversions. We've got to go after folks that understand the industry, that maybe have a landscape background but wanted to come into the turf healthcare side of the business. But what I have actually learned since in the year now that we've been franchising is that we've got folks that have been mailmen, that have worked in manufacturing facilities. We've got folks that came out of Tesla looking to build their own dynasty. They may not have had the background in lawn and landscape, but realizing that was really where my expertise is really understanding that and being able to convey that. And having been a high school basketball coach for 26 years, I think I've figured out ways to communicate properly to teach that. And what I thought would be the biggest impediment to getting into this was teaching turf care. Has actually been the easiest thing to do thus far.
That's awesome.
We put together a pretty rigorous 12-week training program, and I think by the time they get out of that 12 weeks, our PhD Ryan Waltz, who handles is our director of training, he takes a lot of pride and effort knowing that he scores them as they come across, equivalent to what his degree was at Ohio State. And he tells me that, Rob, I actually think they're smarter than I was when I graduated now, and I only put them through 12
That's
weeks
awesome.
of training.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, in the world of franchising, there's a lot of noise online about, do you have to be a full-time owner to be successful in a franchise? And so what do you say to that? Do you have to be a full-time owner to be successful?
Yeah, that's one of those loaded questions for me. Is I can tell you the success we've had in our first year with our first class of franchises. Almost 75% of them are semi-absentee, where they actually have a full-time job, and they're doing lawn squad. They may be working 5 to 10 hours a week, overseeing some of by measuring through dashboards and KPIs. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it's going to be for everybody. I loved just as much working with the person that's running the franchise themselves, that's going out and doing the applications. But I think the way technology has changed and the way we communicate now really lends itself to being semi-absentee. So where I was at the beginning thinking that we were going to have 90% of our franchises as owner operated, it's actually been just the opposite thus far, where the majority of them are semi-absentee. And I think you can do that if you have strong KPIs, if you've got great software that runs the business, that takes advantage of all the modern day GPS tools and live dashboards and where you can manage the business. And if you have a good franchise business development team within the brand that can have those weekly and monthly meetings to keep not just the production teams at each of those locations in place, but also keeping ownership in line with where those expectations are.
That's all great stuff, and I'm happy to hear that, because I'm always looking at brands that people can be a part-time owner. There's a lot of people that aren't committed yet to leave their job. As much as they might hate it. They want a little bit of a safety net, and then they want to make that transition when they feel super comfortable. And I know it takes some skill to do both, and certainly a lot of work. Talk a little bit about, when you mentioned technology and things, you have a call center, but not only a call center, there's some other nuance to it. It's really a sales center.
It really is. The term call center and sales center were fairly new terms to me. For the 23 years prior to us doing this, we had a department, it was customer service, and we had another department, even in a different room, on handling the sales. And we did that because we always wanted to put the customer first. That customer service center, they take pride in knowing that they're the agents of the lawn, meaning it's a growing medium where, with weather changes and Mother Nature and mowing habits and watering habits, they take these calls in from customers who maybe have a concern with the brown spots in their lawn, or not sure why it's not growing properly. They go through an entire program with the customer on the phone, trying to do some diagnostics. If they can't figure it out there, then they'll deploy that. We'll deploy those service calls out to the field so that they can go in and check on those. But really, our customer service team really acts as the agent of the lawn, where they're reading what the inputs are that we've provided them, the type of nutrition, the type of weed control, the timing of applications. They're gathering information from the homeowner, understanding with the mowing regimen, the watering regimen, and they really serve as a true customer care team, which is different from our sales room. Now, if one of the calls they take is maybe coming from a customer that saw our truck or received one of the direct mail ads, then they'll do a live transfer right to our live salespeople who are using some of the best technology, and we have since 2012, where we can do measurements online, where we don't have to deploy out to your lawn to measure. They can get the most accurate measurement online.
So cool.
Using satellite technology. And we were one of the first adopters of a software product called HubSpot back in 2012. And we've really built out an entire automation and nurturing system that guides that customer right through the sales journey with automated emails, texts, and then of course the call center members calling them back to try to close on those sales. And what that has led to is we call it the one-step sales process. And it's a pretty interesting concept in that 50% of every sale we make happens on the first call within 5 minutes. So we've created a very efficient machine that where we have salespeople back in that room that are the beneficiary of a well-built CRM system, and they're able to close at pretty high rates with as it compares to the industry standards.
Pretty impressive. So talk a little bit about your marketing. So you find the right franchisee, and well, let's talk about training first, and then let's get into marketing. So what does the training look like when you find the right franchisee, and then dive right into marketing?
So from the time they close, within 2 or 3 days, we've already began a personality assessment, because we want to understand how do they learn. Right? What's the best approach? Are they the type that's more visual, more audible? Are they the type that needs to observe and then go into the field? So we do an assessment to find out what's the best way to instruct and to teach them. From there, we literally go into 3 weeks of a self-paced virtual self-paced program where they'll go through a learning management software program. Trying to pick up on really the terminology, because like in any organization, it's really starting with understanding the terminology, and then as we get further into that, the next 4 weeks is a instructor-led 3 days a week, 2 hours per day, really going through all the best practices, and really geared up so that by the time they come out of that classwork at the end of those the final 12 weeks, they're prepared to take any the certification courses they need to take in their individual states, and pass that certification with flying colors.
Yeah, no, that's great. So do some of the owners bring a general manager type to training with them, or is it typically husband and wife, or
I can only tell you from my experience, because we're still fairly new at this, is that most of the owner has come with their either technician that they're going to have doing the application, or their general manager that will be overseeing the business. In one case, actually, the owner came with his general manager and his technician, so we had all three at training for that 1 week in-person training that we do right here at our corporate office in Avon, Ohio. And we actually even use a southern location where one of our other brands within the Authority Brands family is, if we have a whole host of southern franchises starting up, we'll actually train them in our Georgia location as well. So we have many different places where we can, if it's in the summer in Cleveland, Ohio, I love the weather. It's a perfect weather. But if it's December, we might be training in Georgia for that final week. So it's a great, that's one of the advantages of being part of Authority Brands, is that we've got 16 different brands, and we can train in different locations if need be.
I could certainly understand that. You need a warmer place to do some training. Talk a little bit about marketing. So once this franchisee is ready to launch, the number one people. Hold on. That's my son's method marker to delete that.
Okay.
So the obvious is, with marketing, everybody wants to get off. Everybody wants to get off to a strong start. So in a franchise, everybody expects that there's
Yeah.
great marketing to get you business, get you customers. So what are you guys doing for that?
Yeah, I mean, and I take that to heart because if you think through the previous 23 years, those were my dollars being spent, and we were spending substantial money in marketing. So it's one of the things that I think intrigued Authority Brands probably the most about our organization is because our emphasis is, like all businesses, of course, is bringing folks into that funnel and really making sure that we move these folks through this buying funnel so that they come out on the other side. But I think we actually don't call it marketing or sales within Lawn Squad. We actually call it smarketing because we put as much emphasis on bringing folks into the top of the funnel as how we bring them out through the bottom of the funnel. That efficiency that we've built into that software that does the automation and nurturing. And again, that's why we have led the industry. I would tell you, I'm proud to tell you, for the past 23 years, our closing rates have been as high as anybody in the industry. And we put a ton of emphasis in the fact that we combined with Authority Brands. We thought we knew marketing pretty well, but joining an organization who lives and breathes through marketing because of the amount of franchises they have, the learning curve that we were able to get was dramatic, and we've been able to find ways to really improve conversion rates, impressions, and of course that leads to even more improved cost per leads and cost per acquisition. But you're right. At the end of the day, they finish those 12 weeks of training with us. They want to be back at their office, and they want to make sure that, in this case, their phone doesn't have to ring because we're answering their phone for them. But we want to make sure that we're actually delivering on those sales that are being put right into their system so they got to route that work and get out and please customers and make those lawns fantastic.
Yeah. I love the smarketing piece. How about staffing? A lot of people are concerned it's hard to hire people. I don't want a big organization. I can't find people. That's what everybody seems to fear these days.
Sure.
Probably not too difficult to find people to work outside these days, right?
Yeah, and that's actually been, and I've heard that at every conference I've been to, and I know across different industries it is a problem. And I wouldn't say it's not a problem, but the advantage we have in lawn care is the amount of revenue that one person in a truck can produce is substantial. I gave you the analysis before with a landscaper, and I love landscapers. My best friend's a landscaper. Going through high school, I made a few bucks doing that. But the amount of revenue you can generate per truck, the goal is to get 500 to 600 customers, into a truck that can produce $300,000 to $400,000 of revenue with one guy in a truck. And so, of course, that takes a little bit of time because you have to build density through your marketing. But you get 3-4 years into it, and all of a sudden you're realizing. I mean, the average age of my technicians have gone from the mid-20s back in the early 2000s to the mid-50s. I mean, the average age of a technician I have is now in its mid-50s because we use all ride-on equipment, a single van in a truck with a trailer that's equipped. With a ramp that's equipped into that van, so they're not towing a trailer. They're riding on an applicator that spreads the fertilizer and sprays the weeds, and you can imagine our revenue per hours have increased every single year because of that automation and the technology we use within the equipment protocols.
Rob, this sounds amazing and sounds efficient to me. You've been an amazing guest. I love Lawn Squad and everything you're doing. Final thoughts, final words of wisdom for the audience? Working outside, building the American dream of building something that has value in it beyond just the salary that you're making is really the lesson that I learned in business. I'd be lying to you if I told you when I got into it back in 2001 that I was going to build generational wealth. But in fact, that's what we did because we realized that beyond the salary, beyond the simple benefits that you're building, we were building net worth from the value of our company. And it's really what drives me every single day at Lawn Squad is now that I can help those around me, those franchises, look at the big picture, not just what the take home is at the end of the year, but look at the valuation that they've built and the impact that has on their net worth. Yeah, and look, that's motivating, and I'm looking forward to just watching this amazing success story. You've done an amazing job so far. Keep it up, and thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity. You take care now.
My pleasure. If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.